What's up, ladies and gents? Welcome back to another Resurrection review. As always, I have my delicious drink with me. This is the same cup, but it's a different drink. I've actually got Lipton brand iced tea, unsweetened, of course. This is actually hot, so I didn't do the directions completely right. I probably should have added ice, but cheers anyway. Pretty good. Not the best tea I've ever had, but also not the worst. Today, we're going to be reviewing the 1980 Chuck Norris pseudo-classic action film, The Octagon, starring Chuck Norris, of course, as well as Karen Carlson and Lee Van Cleef, who I'm sure will be showing up later in my Escape from New York review. But before we get into this movie, I wanted to introduce a new segment to my videos that I'm going to be doing, and I don't really have a title for it yet, but it's just a song that I'm listening to get into the mood for the movie. I actually ended up listening to this one after I watched the movie, so I don't know if it quite counts, but I'm still going to include it here. It's by a band called Resurrection Band. They started out in the 70s, but this movie came out in 1980, so I listened to a song from their 1980 album Colors, and that song was entitled, I believe it was called Autograph. Yeah, Autograph. It's this blistering opening to this album, just a ton of guitar just kicking in and really getting you ready for the album you're about to listen to. They got a more heavy metal sound on this record than they did in their 70s era. They were more hard rock in the 70s and got progressively closer to metal. And this is one of their first albums, I believe, that had sort of that metal sound. Awaiting Your Reply might actually be their first album from 78 that really has a bigger metal sound. I'm not exactly certain because I haven't heard all their albums. But I just started out this album, listened to Autograph, really helped me get in the mood. I'm probably going to be doing this for the rest of these action movies. So I'll be giving you a song recommendation per video, pretty much. Well, let's go ahead and get into reviewing The Octagon. Another little tidbit, by the way, this is really great cover art. And this guy right here, this is actually Chuck Norris's brother, Aaron Norris, who would go on to direct some of his movies. And before that, he would do a lot of either a little bit of writing credits on his movies, or would even do it definitely, in a lot of his movies, did like stunt coordination. I believe he's a stunt coordinator for this movie, and that's why he's this big villain character. He's not really the big bad, but he has the best fight scene with Norris in the whole movie. Really good fight sequence. They use weapons, they use sort of hand-to-hand combat as well, and it ends up with Aaron Norris's character on fire in a full-body burn. I don't know if he was actually the guy who did the full burn, but it's really, really a pretty darn good scene. Probably the best fight scene of the whole movie, and maybe the best fight scene of Chuck Norris's early career. Now, this isn't my favorite of Chuck Norris's trilogy of movies with American Cinema Corporation. This is actually probably number 2 or 3. I'm not really sure. This does have a couple things that I'm not a fan of. I'll address those up front and then get into the really good stuff. The thing I like most about this movie, least about this movie, sorry. The thing I like least about this movie is probably just the fact that it feels really overlong, and there's a lot of sort of space between the fight scenes. I don't mind some drama in my action films. I mean, I reviewed this earlier today. It's got a ton of drama in it, and it's still a great action film. But this just sort of plods. It kind of just goes on, and to be perfectly honest, I found it a little tedious after a while. However, any time that Chuck is fighting makes up for virtually all of that. The score is kind of silly. It's not great. There's a couple good moments there. The script isn't great, but it does have some fairly good characters. Although it seems to me like a lot of characters just kind of come in and they're either killed off or just kind of disappear. And that just kind of, for whatever reason, it doesn't work for me. Some of the character choices here I don't know about. not great. The cinematography isn't overly remarkable, but there are certainly a few really good shots, especially the ones of the rising sun and of Chuck in his final fight sequence. And the image that we're left on as the credits roll really is very atmospheric, especially combined with the music and all the stuff that's going on. But I gotta say, Octagon, not a great movie. However, the positives are definitely positive. First off, Lee Van Cleef. You can't say a bad thing about Lee Van Cleef. He's always a great actor in his movies. Probably the best actor in this whole movie. Chuck puts a fairly okay performance in. I think it's actually a step down from my favorite of the American cinema trilogy, which is A Force of One. I think it's kind of a step down for him. Also, the Echoplex on here with his character. He's got this Echoplex thought voice anytime he's thinking of something, and the director feels like, or the writers, I guess, want us to hear what he's thinking. They put his voice in this whispery Echoplex. It's pretty stupid, but it's kind of funny, to be perfectly honest. There's that. I kind of like it. I also love the action scenes. The action scenes are fantastic. A lot of great fighting, hand-to-hand stuff. The first time we really see Chuck in action is brilliant. Everything is really good here as far as the action and the stunt coordination and everything like that. Some of the deaths, to me, in this movie, there's a lot of sort of assassinations, and I think they're really, really kind of ham-handed and kind of, in some ways, cheesy. There's this one guy that gets choked to death from behind, and he chooses to just scream as he's dying, which for some reason to me I don't feel like that would come out in an asphyxiated kind of thing, but maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, there's a lot of negatives, but also a lot of really good positives here. It's kind of a mixed bag as far as a movie, in my opinion. So I wouldn't give it, 10 out of 10 stars. I probably wouldn't even give it about 7 stars. I'd probably give it about 6. Not a great movie, not a bad movie. One that I come back to every once in a while and watch, but, I could tell. My wife was kind of working on her computer while we were watching this today, and I could tell she was not a fan. And to be perfectly honest, I mean, despite some good stuff, I mean, there's some good atmospherics in the movie. There's a little bit of good acting, and some of the characters are pretty fun. And of course, Chuck is great almost all the time. Not a great actor, but definitely a really great stage presence, or screen presence, rather. So I gotta say, it's an okay movie. It kicked off the ninja craze in the 1980s. So there's a lot of ninja movies coming out post this movie. Did do very well at box office, so I can't say really too many bad things about it. And that cover art's brilliant, so at least there's that. But yeah, Chuck Norris in The Octagon. Not the best movie Norris has ever come out with, but a fairly strong entry into his 1980s action pantheon. Next up, we're going to be reviewing Forced Vengeance, I believe. Yeah, Forced Vengeance from 1982. That's the first movie after this that I could get my hands on. So we're going to be watching Forced Vengeance. I'll be back to review that. Go around, and after you've before you watch this movie, maybe listen to Autograph by Resurrection Band. They're a pretty darn good band. Really, really heavy instrumentals on that album, and specifically on that song. Cheers. The tea. Rock on. If you like, subscribe. Talk to you later. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you here in a little bit. Bye-bye.